Good afternoon. It really is a pleasure and honor to be here, and I've had the chance to meet some of our amazing speakers, so it's quite a humbling experience for us all. I'd like to introduce you to Gracie, to Jake, and to Carlos, whose true stories really underscore what our kids are going through today.
When my mom got sick with cancer, I did a lot to help her. Even though I was only 6 years old, my grandma knew what to do, and she showed me what my mom needed. I knew if I wasn't sure of something, I can always ask Grandma. Daddy was there too. He had to work a lot to pay the doctor's bills. But two things happened. Grandma had a heart attack, and she died. And my brother died in a car crash. I know my mom's going to die. I just don't know when. Me and my daddy are so sad. We can hardly breathe. What is going to happen to us then? What will happen to me if my daddy goes away?
My dad and my sister and me had to move here, and we could visit Mom, who's in jail, for a big mistake she made. That's all I know. I miss my mom, but I didn't want to leave my school and all my friends. Both my sister and me are afraid to tell people where my mom is, and we are running out of things to explain why she's never around. I just know kids are gonna hate us when we find out. I think I wouldn't mind doing all the chores around the house, or even babysitting my sister, if I had someone to talk to about all this. I feel so alone, and I'm not sure this feeling will ever go away.
I know my name is the same as my dad's, Nicholas, but I wish I can be someone else. I mean, why does it matter? Since my parents divorced, I haven't seen him at all for a year. Mom has tried to help me find him, but I have no idea where he went after he left. I guess he got tired of pushing me to do good in school and gave up. Mom found someone else and has gotten married already. Sometimes I'm so angry I want to explode, and I feel like no one cares about what I think about all this.
Children enthrall me. They have faith in their eyes, love in their touch, hope in their attitude, and they're filled with the trust that we as adults will tend to them wisely. Today I stand in front of you on behalf of children who've experienced a loss and adults who still have a deep red scar from a childhood loss that they had while growing up, and it hasn't been tended to today. When you look into the face of a child, you expect to see the twinkle of enthusiasm, the clarity of innocence, and the openness to embrace life. But today, too many of our kids have expressionless eyes. Their attitude is negative. Their spirits have been broken. They are grieving a loss from their family or their community. And they're carrying this burden alone, almost as if silent mourners. Can you recall a significant loss or a change in your family while you were growing up? Or even as an adult, a huge disappointment or the death of a friend or a family member? Can you recall those emotions of aching, emptiness, confusion, or even wanting to just lash out at someone? And as adults, we naturally turn to our family members or our trusted friends. So it would seem when there's a significant loss in a family, the children who are 3, 7, 16 would naturally turn to their parent or caregiver for that support. But those members, they're grieving too. They're afraid, they're stressed. They don't know what to do, and they've probably been told by others that kids are resilient. They're going to be fine. They're going to bounce back. You as the adult, keep that stiff upper lip. And that happened to me. In 1976, My marriage ended, and my sons were 6, 7, and 8 years old. And everyone told me to be strong, to get my act together, to not cry in front of my children. And I was comforted to hear that because I didn't know how I was going to survive, much less how I would be able to help my children. So as time went on, I ignored the children because I was dealing with my own grief. And about 1.5 years after that divorce, I was sitting at the dinner table with Mike, Tom, and Tim, and probably for the first time in a year, I looked into their eyes, really looked into their eyes, and their pain was evident. So I made us a large bowl of popcorn, sat us down on the floor in the family room, took a really deep breath, and did something that everyone told me not to do. I asked my children how they were feeling. I asked them again how they were feeling. And Tom looked out the window, Mike looked at his shoes, Tim just shrugged his shoulders. So I started with me, and I told them how I was feeling, that I didn't know how my mom and dad were going to treat me. I was the first one in the family to get a divorce. I didn't know how our friends were going to respond to me. We were the first couple in our group to get a divorce. But as I opened up and shared, my sons opened up. That was the best 3 hours of my entire life. It certainly was intimidating because my children were extremely candid with how they were feeling. The first thing they told me was that it wasn't just my divorce or their mom and dad's divorce. It was their divorce too. They were ashamed. They didn't know how their friends would treat them or if their teachers would treat them well. From there, I realized since I was in a grief support group through my church, there must be something for my children. So imagine 1976, I had to go to the Yellow Pages to find out if there was some grief support for children. There was no Googling, there was no internet. You just started making calls. It was unbelievable to me that there was nothing for children, nothing for them to be able to find a place to feel ordinary, to have other adults to give them the vocabulary to be able to grieve and to grieve well. What's happening today, we are ignoring our children. So many of our adults are believing kids are resilient, they're going to bounce back, they're going to be just fine. But statistics are showing today that 70% of children in chemical abuse centers, 4 out of 5 children in juvenile centers, and 70% of kids taking their lives are children from single-parent families. Some of you that live around here can recall from January to May in Lake Forest, 4 teenage boys took their life by train. And all 4 of them were in the midst of their family's divorce or trying to pick up the pieces from a high-conflict divorce. The pain was more than they could bear, so they ended their life. As a community, we have an obligation to pay attention to our children, to talk to them, to listen to them, to provide that opportunity for them to grieve until their families are able to embrace them again. I challenge you today to take what Carlos and Gracie and Jake said, to remember them, to turn to your children, the children that are in your lives, and to say to them, how are you? How are you feeling about what's happened in your life? Please don't ever be afraid that you're reminding them of some significant or loss or change that has happened in their life, because it's always present on their mind and in their heart. They need someone to know that they care and that they will listen to their story. You will have to ask children again and again because they want to make sure that you really do care, and you will stick around to hear them and to be helpful to them. I strongly believe that if humankind is ever to prosper, if corporations are to succeed, if our society is to be strengthened, we must reach out and help our children today and the adult child that is hurting. And remember, when you touch someone's heart, you are part of their miracle.